Drew and KB bringing it to you on this Friday in the good land. Time for us to welcome a man who carries the G all the time, Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV. He's brought to us on the program by Miller Lite, Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference in Rogers Behavioral Health. Nags, how you doing? You're almost at the end of your least favorite week of the year.
It's the worst, man. Like the NFL has the longest off season of any professional sport, and then they expect me to deal with a bye week? Like I waited all year for football season. Most specifically Packers season, and now it's Packers season, and the Packers aren't playing.
This will be our third straight Packerless Sunday, right?
It's the worst, man. It's the absolute worst.
That's like getting everything out in Christmas season and everything in the stores, and then Santa kicks it back a week.
It says, yeah, not yet. Man,
or delaying the release of pumpkin spice latte. That's another one.
I just hate it. I get, and I understand why the bye weeks are necessary. I get it, but man, I hate it.
One game in 23 days. That's the one that's the thing.
Absurd,
the way that's mind blowing.
That is absurd.
Okay, so speaking of that, Nags.
Yeah.
Gut instinct. You got 23 days off. Are you going to come back better, or? I mean, I don't know.
Or those muscles you were trying to flex atrophied to the point where you're even worse. I mean, who knows? Right?
I mean, is it that much time off? What's your feeling? I mean, is it good to regroup, and will they be?
I think
come back strong, or
I don't know about strong, but I think the time off is perfectly kind of landing here for the Green Bay Packers. As far as they clearly could not get out of their own way on offense these last couple of weeks, and this will give them an opportunity, especially the coaching staff, to kind of reassess and look at things and how they're approaching both, the game plans, but also what they're asking these guys to do. Where are they strong? Where are they weak? Where are they making these mistakes? What's cropping up again and again and again that you can focus on coming out of the bye week? And of course, I say all that, and that sounds like, okay, of course, yes, I think a fresh approach is needed. But at the same time, I think a lot of this will look a lot better if and when they get Aaron Jones back on the football field. I mean, it's no mistake when you look at the drives he was involved in against the Bears. They look really good on offense. And the drives he wasn't involved with against the Bears, who are terrible, they didn't look all that great. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I think getting Jones on the field will go a long way to making this team look a lot better.
He made Jordan Love look better for sure. There's the two schools of thoughts, Nags. We've talked about it. They're, a drive or two away from being 4-1 and a drive or two away from being 1-4.
Yes, they are.
Again, we don't know what we have really. But the thing is, we kind of knew this was going to happen. And then here, when we're in the throes of it, it still seems shocking.
I mean, it does. But what's interesting is how unprecedented their approach is on the offensive side of the ball as far as so much youth. I mean, I can't recall, maybe you guys can shake my memory here a little bit, but I can't recall a hard reset like this, not only in Green Bay, but really anywhere in the NFL where, we're going to completely eschew veteran free agents, keeping our own veterans and go so hard into a youth movement. And I understand their thinking as far as they're trying to open a new window, right? And this year has always been about setting a foundation, getting Jordan Love as your starter and these young players playing together. But as you said, we did know there were going to be some tough times, but baby, it has been tough at times. There is zero doubt.
Okay, what was the ugliest offensive game so far this year? It's like this is like.
Well, it's got to be Detroit. It's got to be Detroit. I mean, as tough as it was to watch on Monday night, there were fits and starts, and there were things that you can point to and go, okay, they ran the ball finally. Like I can understand the frustrations around that performance because the Raiders are not a very good football team, but at least you saw something, man. Against Detroit, there was a couple nice throws. There's the touchdown draw play to Jordan Love, etc. But man, that was a rough performance, specifically because they really got, basically beat up front repeatedly, and they had no answer for it.
So, Nags, let me throw this at you because this is the things. These are things of which Stephen King novels are made. Could you imagine that looking at the Lions, as good as they are and exciting as they are, could you imagine a world where the Packers revert back to their 70s and 80s selves and the Lions go on a 30-year run?
Why you got to be like that, man?
Oh, my.
Why you got to be like that?
He's having a bad week already.
Oh, my.
I know, seriously. But, I'm not too worried about that yet because, they are, helmed at the quarterback spot by Jared Goff, who is fine. He's a good quarterback, and he's playing well. But it's not like he's like this future Hall of Famer who is going to be there for the next 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? Like, that's obviously what has anchored the Green Bay Packers for the past couple decades. I don't see quite that coming down the pike for the Detroit Lions. Now, maybe they draft someone eventually, and that guy turns out to be that, and then, yes, the nightmare scenario ensues. But yeah, I'm not thinking that that's in the cards yet for the Detroit Lions. They are playing well, no doubt about it, and that's Goff is playing well. But I don't see them having that insane advantage at quarterback that the Packers enjoyed for decades plus. Just
oh no, I'm just saying that they're on top of the NFC Central for 30 years.
It's called the North now, buddy. Like they changed it a little while ago.
You know what? It's still the Norris division and the Campbell Conference and the Wales. No,
see, they call it the black and blue, but like the Detroit Lions are the only ones making people black and blue. Like everyone else in that division just gets kind of punched in the face and has to take it. That's where I'm upset. Like the Detroit Lions have done a really good job of building a team in the image of their coach who wants to punch you in the mouth. Like these other teams, including the Packers, what's their identity? They don't really have one.
That's the question. We're chatting with Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV, regular guest on the Monday and Friday editions of the Drew and KB program. He bookends our show every week. All right, next. So I was watching JT O'Sullivan's Quarterback School, which is fabulous.
So good.
And it made me sympathetic to the plight of Jordan Love this year with the young guys. And I also, part of me says, now I understand why Rodgers would unsnap his chin strap in such a demonstrative way. Because when you're watching TV and you don't have the all 22 and when we don't see how bad like spacing can be and things like that, and how guys like not the primary receiver can impact a play, that he just brought that home for me. And now I'm
100%.
Somehow the last couple of years, I'm more understanding of Aaron Rodgers and why.
Well, and Aaron did talk a little bit about that, right, on McAfee last season, as far as guys doing their job and that affecting everyone else around you. Like, to your point, there are a couple plays that JT pointed out in that video where there's a guy off, like the read is obviously someplace else, but you are still an integral part of the design of the play because what you do affects coverage. It affects how the defense is playing the route combination, the receiver in question. And if you are off, if you were hitting the wrong landmark, if you're drifting as far as your spacing goes, you're affecting the picture for the quarterback. And here's the thing. I talked about this a little bit on Watch Party while we were watching the game, but I think people forget Jordan knows the offense. Like, this is not a question of a new guy being thrown in the fire. He knows the offense. Most of the people around him don't, not to the level that he does. Like, he's been in the building for 4 years. These guys, a lot of them are, yes, they were together this summer, but there's no way they know it as well as Jordan does. So I'm sure those frustrations are probably there on Jordan's part, and I think he's done a really good job of keeping that under wraps.
So they're handicapped by that, but don't you also think as you watch, and we're stuck watching the rest of the league, because it's like I said, third straight Packerless Sunday, you watch the rest of the league, I see creativity and rub routes and guys getting open and open space, and it's like, I don't see that with the green and gold. Not seeing it.
It's curious. I thought we'd see a lot more of what we saw back in 2020 as far as condensed formations and, to your point, like rubs with bunch sets, motion, right?
Rubs,
to get guys free releases off the line of scrimmage and easy completions for your quarterback. I mean, hell, we saw that for the Raiders on the very first play of on offense for them, where they got a tight end wide open in the flat. Like, can we create some of that for Jordan? Because right now it does seem like they're running a lot of isolated stuff, a lot of guys downfield where you're asking an awful lot of a very young group, and you're undoubtedly, they're NFL players, right? That is part of the gig. It is your job. It is your profession, and you have to do what is asked of you. You have to use correct technique in all of this. But especially early in these games, can we manufacture some easier completions for the quarterback? Because right now, man, he is having to drop back. A, they know right where he's going to be as far as the pass rush goes. They know exactly where the quarterback is. And B, like, they're calling so many of these longer developing routes, concepts that require the quarterback to sit back there, read the defense and find out what the rotation is, and do the receivers read it the same way the quarterback does, and all of that, instead of, okay, let's boot them out and give them a high-low, and if it's not there, hit your check down and on you go. I just think simplifying it earlier in the game would probably help the offense.
And if it's not there, he can take off too, because he's certainly very mobile.
Yes,
exactly. As we saw, one of his biggest runs of the night.
How about a design quarterback draw once in a while? I wouldn't mind.
Hey, they did one against Detroit.
In Chicago, was it? Or was it Detroit or Chicago, too?
In Lambeau, 100%. Like, and I think, yes, his legs are probably underutilized. And I think Matt, to his credit, did say, I think it was earlier this week in one of the press conferences, talked about how they did boot him a little bit, but they probably didn't do it enough. And I completely agree with that, because if you go back and watch preseason, I mean, it was like Matt was spamming the bootleg action. Like, he was booting out like almost every other play. I think that's a good thing. We saw Mike Shanahan do that back in the day for all of his young quarterbacks. I think that makes a world of sense. And KB, to your point, if he's out there on the edge and something materializes, great. If it doesn't, yeah, go to town. Put your foot in the ground and get upfield.
Here's a question for you, Nags. Which is worse for you? Which made you throw something at the TV?
Oh, God.
Seeing Preston Smith on Devontae Adams.
Oh, boy.
Or having two rookie tight ends try to block Max Crosby.
Or standing on the goal line when he had 11 yards to go.
Okay, now the Rudy. No. Wait, the Rudy Ford touchdown. I don't kill Rudy Ford or Joe Barry for that at all, because that's on the rookie. Lucas Van Ness is supposed to drop there.
Yeah,
he just goes upfield initially for whatever reason, and then gets into his drop. But by then it's too late. Like, the design of the defense is sound there, but it's just bad execution. So that one doesn't kill me. But oh boy, the Preston Smith on Devontae thing, I understand why it happens, right? As far as you've got a certain coverage called, and they break their huddle, and all of a sudden Devontae's lined up, and you have this cover 3 called, and oh no. But how do you not, at this point, have some kind of check? And I get maybe, you've got injuries, maybe Walker would have called a check there, but he wasn't on the field. But how do you not either check out of it or call a timeout? And I get it's the second half, but man, that's brutal. That's brutal. The same thing happened in week 1 last season against Justin Jefferson.
It should be
how
an
do you not,
timeout.
after like a year and a half, how do you not have a check for that? It blows my mind.
Devontae's got to be sitting there looking.
Oh, my God. He's got to be thinking.
Are you really doing this?
This is beautiful.
You're not doing this, are you? They're really doing this.
I mean, that was his longest gain of the night? It's not a mystery.
No, he only had 4 catches though, and Josh Jacobs didn't hurt him, and they still managed
to lose. Well, because look, the defense did their job. Like, anybody who wants to talk about Joe Barry, the defense did their job.
That's true.
They have given up 10 points heading into the fourth quarter of that game. If you have anything resembling a competent offense, you're ahead, and that changes the whole dynamic of what Joe Barry has to call. The defense did their job that game.
And the whole horse collar thing was your 4-point difference. Yep. But at that point of the game, the whole game changes if you put,
if you get a touchdown there, rather
Jimmy G behind the score.
Exactly.
We discussed that horse collar thing, and I said that in hockey, if they were to do something like that, they'd get a penalty shot. Right. What they should do is, if there's a horse collar on a breakaway, now you can't guarantee the touchdown.
Right.
But you could give them one free play from the point.
Now, imagine your most valuable player gets hurt on that one free play.
Well, he could have gotten hurt on the.
I know, but you're just adding a free play that has nothing as far as trying to gain.
He's just saying, like, an untimed down. This is
an untimed down. That's what it is.
It's a free play down.
Then you start at first down.
Yeah.
I just think, hey man, I want to do what soccer does. That should be a red card. He should be thrown out. If it's on a clean breakaway and he's going to have a touchdown, fine. Yes, smart play. You stop the touchdown, but now you're out. You're done.
That makes some sense. All right, Nags, as we parse this again, we're relitigating the game against the Raiders because that's the most recent thing we have.
Yeah.
How do you think the offensive line held up in general? Crosby was a beast.
Better than I thought watching it live. Like, much better. Crosby wrecked it, no doubt about it. Like, and he is a game wrecker, so he's going to get his, and he certainly did. But going back and watching it, they held up better than it felt watching it live, right? I just think they really struggled with the receivers down the field, trying to get A, separation, but B, just the spacing, everything we were talking about, driving on the ball, like having explosive kind of action out of their breaks. Like the second interception, I really have a hard time faulting Jordan Love for that one, because if Watson comes out of his break, like explodes out of that break into the center of the field the way you would expect him to, and drives on the football, that's his ball. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have a that's my ball mentality. But in that instance, the corner had more of that than Watson did. So
but
that's a tough one.
Here's the thing. Do you remember conversations of alligator arming from young receivers named Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, and perhaps even Randall Cobb?
Oh, I remember everybody ready to.
Got to learn that. Right?
Absolutely. I remember Jimmy Robinson back in the day when he was a wide receivers coach. When you'd be out there at Nitschke Field and he would just be laying waste to those young wide receivers about that very thing. And look, remember when everybody wanted to run Devontae out of town?
Yes.
His second year. It's like they're young, man. They're young. I get this is the thing. We've got to get through these growing pains, and that's exactly what it is. But man, it's easier to do when it's just Devontae and you've got the Greg Jennings of the world. You got Jordy Nelson. Like you've got these other dudes, right? But now it's a whole team full of second-year Devontae Adams, and you're like, this is hard, man. This is really hard to get through.
That's a layer that, we knew it was going to be hard. You're right. If you give Love like one or two veteran guys, the results are different, I think.
I think so. But look, again, I understand Green Bay is looking at this in a very different light. They're not. This is not about 2023. This is about setting groundwork and letting these kids develop, hopefully for a long-term plan. But man, they got to start showing some improvement here after the bye week, no doubt.
That makes some sense. All right, what are you watching this weekend? The Vikings have to tie a knot at the end of the rope, right?
Oh man,
no Justin Jefferson for a month. Things just get worse and worse up there.
Love it.
Yeah, not that I'm. Hey, don't let the mainstream media fool you or sweep it under the carpet. The Packers still have more wins than the Bears and Vikings combined. So that's the world I'm living in. That's what I'm marinating in for the weekend.
That's called carrying the G.
You're darn right. Absolutely. No question.
Nags, have yourself a great Packers free weekend. Go to the pumpkin patch, the apple orchard, all the stuff that you do.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what I'm not doing. My girls are begging me to go see the Taylor Swift movie. They are going that on their own. I'll be home. Thanks
what are they
much.
digging them for a ticket out in New York? Because
like
$25 here.
Unbelievable. Oh, they've got the friendship bracelets. They've got like all the souvenir mugs and popcorn things. Like they're ready to go to town.
Just wild.
God bless them.
Absolutely wild. Nags, have a great weekend. We will catch up with you on Monday, and then we've got a game to look forward to.
Talk to you Monday, boys. Have a great weekend.
All right. Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV, our Packers Insider segment, sponsored by Miller Lite Orthopedic